evening, everybody. Welcome to our series of Know the CFO. Today we have with us CA Vishwanath. He needs no introduction. Currently, he is the CFO of Randstad India and soon to be the CEO. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Saudamani. It's a pleasure to be talking to you today.
It's our honor that we could have you on our platform, and that also for our first very show. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
So let's get started. Today we are going to talk about those elements of your life which many people are not aware of, which are going to help us budding CAs to see a way that yes, we can grow. There is an end mark we can see that, okay, we can aim for the CFO position or we can aim for the CEO position, and who better can give us this experience than you, sir. So I have a few questions for you. To get started with, there's something which is interesting I read about you, that you are called as Vishy. Mm-hmm. So from to be known as CA Vishwanath to be known as Vishy, what has changed? And why did you choose to have this alias that you want to be called as Vishy?
Well, great question to begin with, So we live in a changed world from the one I was born. I believe the thing that has changed the most dramatically is the rate of change. That means we are increasingly under pressure to mentally and socially evolve much more quickly. You are now on the internet more than you aren't on the internet. Starting now, we need to flow with the change, learn to swim with the current, and develop the strength to swim against it as well. So personally for me, I'm better off telling you about what has not changed. It's the values, the beliefs, the ethics, the commitment or passion to excel, and that burning desire and ambition to make an impact. So these are things which have not changed, and these have been ingrained in me for a while now. As far as the alias is concerned, I work extensively in American and European companies. So it's always good to identify oneself better with an abridged name, something that's easy to pronounce, and perhaps it also helps you build your personal brand.
That's a point to note. Writers have pen name, and I think we also need to start creating a brand name, and probably that's the right approach of life, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I understand that you're a chartered accountant. Now, what made you select chartered accountancy? So I think your dad was a government official, and not many people in your age were opting for that course. Then why did you select chartered accountancy?
Well, Saudamani, back then we did not have too many choices with the courses, and more importantly, we did not have Google, right? My parents had, we were 3 siblings, all boys, and I was the second child. My dad's aspiration was the elder one should become an engineer, myself a doctor, and the younger one a lawyer, and that's how, their aspirations are conveyed to you. My tale of why I had to go for CA is a bit of both circumstances as well as spontaneous decisions I made. I hail from a middle class family, and I was quite aware that my parents could not or perhaps would have found it difficult to afford the cost of should I pursue medicine. And there is also a time, medicine takes more time for you to kind of start paying back, right? So meanwhile, I was inspired by my fellow colleagues, who happened to be my best buddies. So 3 of us. So we had that competing spirit, and all of us, spontaneously decided that, we want to pursue chartered accountancy, which I think was a very impulsive decision, but I never regret that decision I made.
So, sir, when you're talking about the challenges, what everyone who hails from a middle class family has to face basically, and the decision what you have to take to make sure that you can take a responsibility. I have a memory from your past, so which I want to share with you. Do you remember this, sir?
Wow.
And for our listeners, We are right now viewing CA Vishwanath's first signature, first stipend, which was rupees 100. This is from his articleship days.
Wow. I remember this because I know we had a very dedicated person called Dinesh who used to manage the office administration. So yeah, and that it was a pleasure to get this cash. I still cherish it a lot. Wow, and it's given me great memories. Thanks for sharing.
So I have a few more memories which we will eventually share over time. But coming to my next question for you. So you have already mentioned that you had a group of friends who motivated you. You all decided together that you wanted to do CA.
Mm-hmm.
But this articleship period is such where we are not certain about life. We do not know what we want to do. Like, yes, we have taken CA, we will proceed with the articleship period. So is it that time that you asked yourself, what do I see myself doing 20, 30 years down the line?
Honest answer, I think in those days we lived in the present. It was all about learning new things, honing new skills, an occasional visit to the tax department to file an appeal or represent a client for a personal hearing. Lots of travels and visits to clients' places for audits, understanding their business, etc. So I was fortunate to be guided by very capable seniors, Mr. Ganesh Shenoy himself, and then Surendra Bhatt, Subhash Naik, and Subhash Shenoy, and Giridhar Kamath. So these were the people who really molded us. The office environment was so friendly and professional, and it was kind of a family kind of environment. So I don't think I ever thought what I would be doing 20 years since. So that's a honest answer.
So when you're talking about your office days, where you were working at Ganesh and Sudhir at Mangalore, so there is one incident I got to know about, which I want to know more about it from you.
Sure.
So I believe you used to keep going home for food during the lunch breaks, and at that time when you used to come out, you had few flowers every day kept on your bike. Is this true, sir?
Well, it is, and I think it. It's. I don't know, fond memories of that. I don't know how to describe it, but I think I used to have a Kinetic Honda. Then I used to drive it home and
fan following since then itself.
parking my two-wheeler in front of the house. And I suddenly realized that every day I come out, there is a flower on the seat, maybe a secret admirer. I tried hard to figure out who that would be. Till date, it is a mystery. So hopefully it remains like that forever. But those were pleasant memories.
Okay. So I have another memory from your roots. That's from Ganesh and Sudhir.
Mm-hmm.
So here I share it with you.
Namaskara Vishwa, Inja Ullaru. Your visit to Mangalore is long due. Ingipur Repa Barparan wait Mantamila. Just to have that early morning dip in Tanir Bavi, then walk down the memory lane. The great times we had together in Mangalore, in Puttachadri, and late night rides to Manjeshwar Teru, then kitchen of Parijnan. Lot more memories, including cricket. Then we had a great time in the fancy dress of Sikasa. Lot more things we have to cover. So we are waiting for you, Vishwa. And one thing I would like to repeat every time I meet you, that is, today if I am a child dependent, it is just because of you. I always appreciate your patience, perseverance to make me sit and study the trigonometry, calculus, and write the exam again and again and get through that intermediate. So we are all proud of you, Vishwa. All at Ganesh and Sudhir, for all at Ganesh and Sudhir, you are the inspiration, you are the role model, and we are waiting for your visit here so that we can have a great time.
Wow, that's amazing. I feel very humbled seeing Giri talk about me like that.
Yes, I would accept it that yes, you are the pride of Mangalore.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. So, what is that? I mean, Mr. Giridhar Kamath has mentioned about a lot of things that you all used to do together. But if you have to you have to tell us about one thing, your fondest memory of Mangalore. What will that be?
Well, I think Giri talked about some of those. I think the fondest memory for me is, how well we gelled as a team, and we had so much of fun. At the same time, doing everything. We had a great client service mindset. Uh, so. So while there were days when you had to spend long hours in the office getting things done, especially during audits and tax filings to be completed. So it was a race against time, but we never felt that pressure which you often see in corporates. So to me, I think on the work side, that was the most fondest memory. But hey, Mangalore is being a coastal area. I think wonderful beaches, the kind of food. I especially love the ghee dosa in Taj Mahal those days. I'm not sure if it still exists, but and then the famous Ideal ice cream. I was part of the audit team there, so used to have fun going and audit in Ideal ice cream. And also the kind of history Mangalore has, in terms of the temples, the architecture, the churches. So I had some amazing friends there. Great time. So very fond memories.
Mangalore has always been a welcoming city.
Right.
I would take that because I'm a Mangalorean as well. So it's an honor to be a Mangalorean.
By the way, I used to love that car festival in that car street. That again in that Venkatramana temple. The food there is amazing during that festival time.
Okay, so now we have understood a lot about how your personal life has been or your early life has been. But now I want to know more about your professional life, because I understand that you started your career as an audit assistant or an audit staff.
Yeah.
And in like 10 years, you became the CFO.
Right.
How was this jump possible? What was that pushed you to do this?
Well, I think I read leadership books, and there is a book called Good to Great. Over the last 5 years, I've read it quite a bit. Quite inspired by our CEO, current CEO, who actually introduced us to the book. This is written by Jim Collins. In the cover page, it says, "Good is the enemy of great." Right. So obviously, it all depends with that burning ambition that you have. The moment you settle for good, you're going to become mediocre. So you should always be looking at, aiming for the stars. He further says that, he calls people, it as level 5 leaders. They demonstrate a very strong sense of personal humility and professional will. So besides this, one needs to be also, curious and passionate. You demonstrate perseverance, put in a lot of hard work, and more importantly, I think you should always be focusing on delivering results. Another factor which has actually helped me is, the focus on people. Because more and more, whether it is in manufacturing or service, or in, even in a finance department, you're going to be working with people. So I decided that I will no longer focus on my career, my success, and instead focus on my own team's success. And if I do help them in growing their careers, they will not let me fail. So for me, I think taking care of your people is the most important thing. And then few other things, being effective and not just efficient. So one needs to be focusing on being productive instead of being busy. And then I also believe in something called as the circle of competence. So basically it's doubling down your strengths. Throughout our lives, we have been told to fix our weaknesses instead of focusing on our strengths. But when you study the most successful athletes, business leaders, and influencers, there is a consistent mantra that's preached. Stick to your circle of competency. And then the last thing I want to say is you need to have fanatic levels of discipline. If you don't have discipline, more often than not, you are not going to succeed. So I think these are some of the principles I have lived by. Of course, I have learned them over a period of time, but these are some of the things which have really helped me become the person that I am.
That requires a lot of dedication, discipline, as you mentioned. It is a long way what you have decided.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it's a long haul. I think life is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So we got to go by. It's about continuous incremental improvement is what I would say.
so, sir, as it's in the news that you're going to be the next CEO of Randstad. So how do you feel about it? The journey from as we started as an audit staff to now the CEO. What is the journey? How do you feel about it to take this position?
I would say euphoric, excited, big responsibility. I'm stepping into big shoes. As you know, Randstad is the leading HR services company in the world. In India, we put almost 60,000 people to work. So our mission is to shape the world of work. We use technology for touching people's lives. So we call it human forward. So for me, I think the fact that I'm going to be a CEO of a people business, makes it feel extra special.
But then, so we have seen that usually the head of marketing or sales get promoted as the CEOs. So how is the journey, or how will it work in the favor of CFOs henceforth?
Well, I think CFO. I don't think it's only a certain role or a function can lead to a certain outcome, right? So I think it's about, again, I talked about that burning desire, right? So it begins with that, and then often it also depends on how far you want to push yourself out of the comfort zone. Being in a CFO role has provided me a very 360-degree view of the business. So I understand what makes the business tick. And it's also about today in today's world, social leadership or the ability to inspire, influence, and motivate others is becoming one of the most important traits that a leader should bring. And there is also a little bit of outside in thinking. Think about customer focus. Put the client in the center of everything that we do. It's also about courage, particularly how do you deal with adversity, how do you deal with crisis. The last 12 months when the whole COVID crisis was to be managed, I got an opportunity to lead from front, partner with the CEO, take a lot of important decisions. It also requires optimism, that encourages and empowers others. More importantly, I think one needs to be self-aware, being able to forge relationships across the organization, communicate relentlessly, and also know how to allocate resources. For example, when our business went down in April last year because of COVID and the lockdown, we very quickly had to allocate resources to areas which previously we had not done. So I think understanding of the business as a CFO, understand the financial metrics, what drives the results. It makes CFOs in a great position to be there. So I would say it's not like again, I think there are multiple routes to get to a CEO, and there is no reason why I believe that CFOs cannot do that role.
But then again here, do multiple certifications help? Like I see that you are a black belt in Six Sigma. So is it necessary, or how does it help having multiple certifications? Because people always are running for double degrees, and that's the craze right now. So what is your say on that?
So, Sonamani, I think the basic education, the credentials, the qualifications definitely are important because they provide you the technical knowledge or the wherewithal that is needed. Beyond a certain point, I would say it's all about leadership. Certifications definitely help. For example, I worked in some large organizations like Motorola and GE, right? So Motorola was the pioneers of Six Sigma. And what they did was they put in Six Sigma into the manufacturing shop floor. They said my product should be 99.9996% from a quality point of view. But then GE were not the inventors of Six Sigma. They copied it from Six Sigma. But what GE did was, why limit it only to quality department? Why limit it only to manufacturing? Six Sigma should be used in HR. Six Sigma should be used in finance, in IT. So they kind of spread that to all the functions. And initial days, I was really wondering, hey, I joined GE from Motorola, and what can I do as a finance guy with Six Sigma? But then, it's when you look at it, it's all about measuring. It's all about metrics, right? And we all know that what gets measured gets improved. We deal with tons of data, and for me personally, I think a black belt was a great way to learn the tools. How do you do, for example, a root cause analysis of defects? How do you make decisions based on a Pareto chart? How do you mitigate risk through a FMEA tool, failure modes and its effect analysis, where you try to reduce the risk score while making a decision? So for me, I think it was a great tool. A certification as a black belt helped me in making decisions more wiser. So I would say, yes, you need qualification, but you also need to constantly look at skills that would help you become a better leader, make better decisions.
So it's more about gathering skills than gathering certificates.
Absolutely.
No way you can gather it.
Absolutely.
Perfect. So you're telling about how you have tried to stay disciplined or explore so much in life. Was there some time in life you felt, no, this is it, I cannot take it anymore? Like you felt like you want to give up. This is not what you want to do. Was that phase any time there in your life?
Well, I think when you have a career span of 30 years, there is always going to be moments when you feel the heat. You struggle to cope with the pressure, and sometimes you almost want to give up. But I always believe that winners never quit and quitters never win, right? So one needs to be resilient and have that ability to say, I will never give up. And it's also, resilience is accepting your new reality, even if it is less good than one you had before. So yes, there have been moments, very tough circumstances. It could be my personal health, or it could be that a struggling business. But I have never quit. I've tried to give my best, and perhaps try and get the results that we want. There have been failures, but yes, I think I never reached a situation where I said, hey, this is it. So it's about keeping on trying, and one fine day you will surely get what you want.
That they say, right? Winners never quit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know that you are a winner, because there was a phase in your life where you didn't know whether you're going to be there next day, the next minute. Would you like to tell our audience something about it, so they know that yes, you just need to have the willpower. Willpower makes the difference.
Right. I'm reminded, I think maybe I was 23 years old. I was about to give my chartered accountancy final exams, and Mangalore had some coaching facilities at that time, but I had my uncle in Mumbai who said, "Hey, come to Mumbai. There is this JK Shah coaching classes, and it's got a fantastic success rate. Passing CA is a big milestone, right?" So I decided to embark on that journey. Went to Mumbai, and it so happened that I was coming back from the institute after my coaching classes, and then I don't know what happened. I reached home. I had a severe headache, and since then I didn't know. So 3 days later, when I woke up, I find myself in Sion Hospital, surrounded by a lot of people, and my mom and dad flew from Mangalore to Mumbai to see me. So much had happened. For me, I think that was like rebirth. I had an attack of meningitis, and that took me into coma, and that was a dreadful moment for me. I had to give my CA exams in May, but under the circumstances, given my health, I couldn't prepare. The doctors had advised rest for almost 30 days. So I was less prepared. So that was a moment when I was almost, cursing myself. What happened? I was even thinking about faith. But then somehow I gathered resilience. I said, okay, if not May, there is going to be an exam coming in November. So I used that time to actually prepare even better. I ditched the coaching classes, came back to Mangalore, did self-study, and I was very happy when I got the results that I had got a rank in my final examination. So that was a huge turning point for me, both from my health perspective as well as coming out with a record achievement, so which I'm still proud of.
This shows that what determination you have shown towards your career, and it's just all about having the strength, the inner strength that yes, I want to do it, and which is very important.
Right.
And seems like your family has been very supportive through and through with you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think both my dad and mom, and now my wife, obviously throughout my career. I have 2 daughters, so there have been a huge amount of support, coping with my schedules and giving me all the warmth that I need over the weekends. So yeah, I think they have been very supportive.
So how do you manage work, personal life? How do you manage?
Well, I think I talked about fanatic discipline, right? So when you don't sleep well, when you eat crap, when you don't exercise, and are living off adrenaline for too long, your performance suffers. To me, there is no such thing as, for example, work-life balance, right? So these are work-life choices that you make. You make them, they have the consequences. So let me take you early in my career. It was very difficult. You are doing the hard job, high priority job. You want to get promoted. You want to get recognition, accolades, and trophies. I want to describe a very funny incident. Jan 31st happens to be my anniversary. And for finance folks, this happens to be a month end, right? And that's when every month end, every quarter end, you are in that frenzy mode of getting things done and reporting your results. So I was so busy with the closing. We had just implemented a new ERP, and that was perhaps the second month closing after the ERP. So I did a night out at office, so we used to order pizzas and then stay back. I came home at 4 a.m. on Jan 31st early morning, slept for a few hours and had my shower, and 9 o'clock I went back to work. I forgot about my anniversary. I did make up later. Of course, you can imagine, obviously, that's a big moment for my wife and me. So the fact that I had not even wished her. So I realized that later in the evening that day, so 4 o'clock in the evening, I arranged for a surprise party, in a restaurant with a nice scenic table. Um, and I took my wife and apologized. So made up for that. But these are some of the struggles you go through when you have to basically look at performing to your best.
You have to manage both these sides.
Absolutely.
It's a game you have to. I mean, you are into it. You have to play it. It's like that.
Right. And today, Saudamani, with technology, I think there is nothing called work and nothing like personal life, right? So you got to learn to do. It's a mix and match of both. In a 24 hours, but for the time you sleep, you're going to spend a few hours in office doing personal work. At the same time, when you're at home, you're going to be attending to a few important calls. So I think it's about learning to live a life where you're able to cut off from things for certain moments, so that you focus on the quality and not on the quantity.
Right now, as you said, that we are working, all of us are working from home.
Right.
And it becomes difficult that now our homes have become our office.
Absolutely.
So when you mentioned about the date, what you arranged to make up for your anniversary, I understand that you are a Pani Puri lover. And there is this particular place in Bangalore where you choose to have Pani Puri. So the reason why I'm asking you this is that people have a misconception. People at the position of the CFO, CEO, and in the C-suite basically would prefer to dine in star restaurants, and they would want to have cuisines and everything. How are you different? I mean, so down to earth.
Well, I think this innocuous street snack is a great leveler. It may sound like culinary chaos, but that the spicy, crunchy wonder is absolutely delicious. It's something most Indians will agree. So there are some famous stalls in Bangalore. So after a hard days at work, I see people coming in suits, getting down from big cars, fancy cars, and coming in grabbing a snack. So I think when it comes to food, you need to make your right choices. Obviously, you want to eat healthy, but at the same time, you have those cheat days, where you want to kind of forget everything, your diet, go and just enjoy what you like. So these are some of my cheat day moments when I go for a Pani Puri.
So it's more about the experience. It doesn't really matter if you are satisfied with it, you are enjoying it. It's more about the experience.
Absolutely.
So in our conversation, you mentioned about fitness a couple of times, and right now you mentioned about cheat days, and you regularly run around 8 to 10 kilometers every day. So when people are running to make a career, how are you managing to run 10 kilometers daily?
Well, I think leadership is a taxing position, whether you are a CEO or a CFO, and that requires a certain amount of endurance, confidence, and decisiveness, all of which have a direct link on the physical state of the body. Too many leaders put in so much energy into leading and achieving that they forget about how important it is to maintain fitness. I think for the last 12 plus years, I have made it a daily routine to walk or run on an average about 6 to 8 kilometers every day. Now I'm habituated to it. I think it's about a daily cadence. I've set a personal goal this year that I should do 3,000 kilometers in 2021. Last year, we teamed up with an NGO. I'm sure you would have heard about Oxfam International. So we did a trial walk of 100 kilometers in about 36 hours as part of their initiative. And Oxfam works on alleviating poverty, also education for women. And the recent Women's Day, we actually did a virtual trail walk. Again, 100 kilometers in 10 days. So I keep doing this. I go to the Chennai Marathon, TCS, every January. So these are things which I enjoy. It keeps me, uh, fit, and also helps me de-stress myself. So yeah, I think I really I don't do 10 kilometers, but some days, weekends, perhaps I stretch that extra bit to hit that 10 kilometers. What helps me is you know I'm a 5 a.m. club, so I wake up early in the morning, uh, and it's amazing how our mind and body communicate with us, and regularly undertaking my me time, so that's my time when between 5 and 7 I really do the most important things, which is physical, and then also look at prioritizing how I want this day to be. I look at my calendar and organize myself. So that's how it is.
That's true. I mean, early in the morning, you can plan your day, you can give yourself your time, you can concentrate on your physical growth and everything. I totally agree.
Right.
Yes. So that's something very nice to learn, that we need to give ourselves also time.
Right.
If we are running in life, we need to stop somewhere and see that yes, our body also needs our support.
Right.
So coming to the last segment of our interview today, is there something in your life that you felt that you could have done better, or you shouldn't have done it? Is there something like that in your life which you would like to share with our listeners?
I mean, there is always going to be those few things that one feels could have done better. I think it's about reflection, right? So I constantly look in the mirror and want to confront that brutal facts. Did I do this right? Did this meeting go well? Did I convey what I wanted to communicate to the team? And then was there a better way to do it? So I call it as you confront the brutal facts and also commit yourself to a promise of action. Next time I get this opportunity, I'm going to do this. That helps me, really prioritize and also challenge myself. More importantly, I think you should always look at, you honor the past. What has happened is not going to change, but what you have is an opportunity to really look into the future and say, how can I take some of those corrective measures as we go along in the journey.
So it's about self-introspection and hoping that you don't do the same mistakes again.
Right.
It's okay to make new mistakes, but not the same mistakes again.
Absolutely. Right.
So is there some message as your closing remarks you would like to give the youth of today, that, hey, these are the points you should keep in mind if you want to climb the success ladder?
Well, I think, we often talk about Gen Z and the millennials. So the Gen Zs are perhaps now in their mid-30s, early 30s or mid-30s. The millennials, they are in an environment which is fast changing, right? We did not face this. So I think they learned about COVID. They learned about many aspects of things which we never had these kind of crises. We did have the 2008. We had the Y2K before that. We had Ebola. So, but those were not crises which spread across the globe, right? So this pandemic is really kind of a huge learning, and it's going to build a lot of resilience in them. So my advice to them will be, never give up. First of all, understand what fuels your body and mind. So conquer your ambition. What got you here is not going to get you there. So you need to be a lifelong student. So I continue to become a student. I sit through meetings, trainings, so that I learn from young people. Because they come with a lot of new ideas and new thought process, which are sometimes unconventional, but sometimes very innovative. So keep learning, and never fail to experiment. Fail early and often, but don't repeat those mistakes. So I think it's also about continuously learning from those failures. And then the last thing I would say is be kind to your mind. Love yourself, who you are. Be confident. Nothing can stop you, but for yourself. So I would say end with an hashtag full speed ahead.
Okay, that's nice. Yes. So I do realize how time just flowed by, and we have had an interesting session. I hope you enjoyed, sir.
Absolutely, and thanks for those great memories. I would really love to have them, so maybe I will connect.
Share it with you as well, sir.
Right. By the way, I want to show it to my daughter. She is interested. Maybe next year she will be doing a chartered accountancy. So I'll show her the stipend amount that I got.
You have grown over time.
Right.
Yes, sir. So thank you for joining us on our platform for the Know the CFO series. It was a pleasure hosting you and having you, sir.
Absolutely delightful to talk to you, Sadamani. Thank you so much.
Looking forward to having a lot more sessions with you.
Oh yeah, welcome. I will be just waiting for your next call.
Sure, sir. Okay, sir. So until the next time, bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.